And good afternoon to everybody else in other parts of the world as well. Could be good evening. So we want to welcome you to BREW 2.0. This is the culmination of 3 weeks of training sessions that have been taking place virtually with the 10 companies from literally across the world. We're really honored to be able to present these companies to you and showcase the technologies that are really making a mark in not only their places where they live and work, but truly across the entire world. So congratulations to all of our BREW companies as well. So I want to begin by introducing a couple people who are going to be leading the sessions today and who have been certainly involved with everything going on. Karen Frost, who is our Vice President for Economic Development and Innovation. She has been the coach and the primary organizer for BREW for the last couple of years. I want to compliment her for all of the great work that she's done. And Laura Mullen from our team is our member engagement manager. And I want to just give them a special shout out for all of the work that they've been preparing this group in terms of the prepping for the demo day, but also the training sessions. Bill Dugan, who you will hear from shortly. He is one of our longtime coaches for the BREW. I think he's been with us since our inception of the BREW. He is a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater in the business college and is very much of a hands-on individual with the companies. A great individual to be able to lead these companies to their next stage of growth and development. And then you will have the honor of Bree Nakamura, who is going to be your moderator for the whole session today. And so I've gotten to know Bree for the last several years. She's the practice leader of innovation at the Water Environment Federation. And she most specifically works with the WEF's volunteer committees, the technical committees, and that's how certainly we've got involved with Bree over the several years working at WEFTech, as well as engagements literally across the entire world. So you will be, in for good handling with Bree at the helm. And lastly, I want to introduce to you and to thank specifically our sponsors who have made this possible for us to be able to bring the BREW 2.0 to you, the companies, as well as you, the guests who are listening in today. First of all, Thales Water, who has been a good support of our program and a content provider for us as a sponsor, and then most specifically Beckhoff Automation. And this is a company who has been literally with us for the last couple of years to be able to pledge their support. And as I've gotten to learn about Beckhoff Automation over the last several years, they have come into the Global Water Center, truly impressed with this company. It's a company that, as you'll hear from Jesse Hill in a moment, is out of Germany, but is really making their mark in the United States. And he and I, along with Karen and one of Jesse's colleagues, had dinner the other night, impressed with the work that they're doing and the novel innovations that are occurring with Beckhoff Automation. So I would certainly, encourage people to check them out because they are working in the industrial market, but also moving into the water and wastewater utility market as well. But I want to introduce to you now Jesse Hill, who is the process industry manager for Beckhoff Automation, and he has been with us through this journey with BREW 2.0. Jesse?
Good morning. Thanks, Dean. Yeah, just real quick, a little bit about Beckhoff, and Dean alluded to it, but so we're a family-owned German company celebrating our 42nd year this year. About $1.5 billion, and one of the really neat things about Beckhoff, it is still family-owned and will continue to be. But our growth has been 100% organic with innovation, and we're really focused on innovative products. Just in the last 2 years, we've introduced a flying motion system that uses magnetic force field basically to move things around. We just launched or announced that we have a modular robot that we've invented and created, and we're going to bring to the market. So we're really focused on innovation, and I'm really excited to be part of BREW. I think Dean alluded to it, but the water industry is a strategic industry that we're focused on, at least the process industries here. So it's been a really, really fruitful partnership, and we believe in the mission and the goal of the Water Council. And specifically to BREW, I personally have interest in this. I've worked in startup environments, so I understand the pace, and there's just so much help that's needed, and there's a lack of resources. So I really think this is a wonderful program where we can help spur these companies along. And I think based on the products that we have and our expertise, a lot of our stuff is hardware, but we're as much like a software company as well. And so I think we have some local products and also expertise for once we buy some technology space for these companies. So really excited to be a part of this. It's been a really fun experience to work with the cohort and learn about these companies. So excited to kind of see the culmination of this today. So thanks.
Thanks very much, Jesse. And again, we really appreciate all the support that you have provided, but also Beckhoff Automation to make BREW 2.0 possible. So a big thank you. So now I have a distinct pleasure to turn over to Bree Nakamura, and she's going to lead through the rest of the program, and then we'll also be engaged on the Q&A with the BREW companies as well. So handing over to you, Bree, in DC.
Thank you. I'm actually in San Francisco this week.
Wonderful.
A little bit of, we are virtual. Unfortunately, we can't be in person, but we're so excited that everybody is here today. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You being here means that you're interested in the latest technologies and latest innovations going on in the water industry. And I think in the next hour and a half, you're going to hear from 10 amazing companies from around the globe. So you'll probably get more bang out of your buck now than you do for a gallon of gas these days. This year, the Water Council has put together an amazing slate of diverse companies, and they're all in their late stage water technology companies who have, laid the groundwork. They have an idea, they've done their research, and they're ready to launch their products into the market. I've gotten a chance to know a lot of these companies either through BREW. I got to do a session with them earlier last month around telling their story at conferences, but I've also seen some of them at WEFTech, which is the annual water conference that WEF puts on every year. So as we are going through all of the pitches, I really want to encourage everybody to listen to how you can engage with these companies. Some of the companies might be looking for investors, some looking for customers, some looking for partners. So as they're going through their pitches, kind of listen out to how maybe you can, radically collaborate with them in the future. Another thing we want to mention is that at the end of all the pitches, we will be inviting back both Jesse and Bill to ask the company some of those hard questions. But you being in the room also means that you're an expert in the water field too. So we will also want to hear from you. So please make sure to utilize the Q&A box that's down below and put your questions in there too. And then at the end of demo day, if you still have questions or wanting to learn more about some of the companies, you'll have the opportunity to chat with them in some of our breakout rooms. So looking forward to that as well. So we'll start off. So out of our 10 companies, we actually group them together into a couple of categories so that you guys can kind of hear about what's going on in that industry and what's going on in that field, but also, learn more that way. So we will be kicking it off with our first 3 companies. So over the past decade, we've heard a lot about SaaS, or software as a service, which has grown substantially within the water industry. So our first 3 companies are all kind of based around that SaaS idea. So our first one is Digital Water Solutions, and Tim Southerns, who's based out of Ontario, Canada, will be telling us more about their product, which is helping people better understand what's happening in their underground distribution systems.
Hi, my name's Tim Southerns, and I'm the CEO of Digital Water Solutions, the technology company that is bringing you Hydrant AI, a way to understand what is happening underground within your water distribution network. Our team consists of professionals, operators, and engineers that have worked for decades in the water sector. So we understand your problems at the water utility. The main problem of aging infrastructure. We have pipes in the ground that have been there for hundreds of years. In fact, aging infrastructure can lead to water loss through small leaks that leak undetected underground. Pressure transients in aging infrastructure can lead to major breaks and bursts within your water system. Freezing pipes, as they freeze, as cold weather and temperatures hit in northern climates, lead to breaks and bursts, or perhaps an interruption of service. Low and high pressures within your network lead to customer complaints, or perhaps to unknown events. Ultimately, you have unhappy customers when you need to issue boil water advisories or when they're unable to get water out of their tap. Finally, the impact of increasing energy costs and energy usage to pump water into the ground is causing utilities around the world to look at what can be done. So what's the benefit? Well, Hydrant AI does early leak detection and localization, allowing you to get quickly to the source of the leak and to make repairs. It's going to increase your customer satisfaction by limiting the number of leaks, breaks, bursts, and boil water advisories within your network. It's going to help you extend asset life by preventing pipes that are at end of life from experiencing high pressures. And when they leak, you're able to repair them and maintain them in service rather than having to replace them. Finally, we're there to reduce bursts and breaks. By initially identifying the small leaks in your system, we hope to have you out and repairing them before a catastrophe occurs. Ultimately, our goal here is to save you money and to increase your customer satisfaction. Let's take a quick example. Imagine if you were this utility, one of our clients, in fact, one of our 25 clients. They had a small leak in their system. When they finally dug it up, because it never surfaced, they found that that leak had a potential savings for them of $85,000. They also recognized that there's some 50 of those leaks in their system every year. Well, that's an incredible $4 million a year in savings from early detection, localization, and repair of leaks within your system. Quickly, what is Hydrant AI? Well, Hydrant AI is a software platform that runs autonomously. That means we need nothing from you. We are a plug and play solution for your network. In fact, it consists of devices that are installed in fire hydrants, not interrupting your fire flow or your operation of your hydrant. It gives you direct visibility to pressure, acoustics, and water temperature in your network. It allows you to capture events from directly within the water column. Meanwhile, our software platform takes your data and gives you actionable insights, allowing you to see leaks, to localize leaks, and to identify pressure transients within your network. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this helps you reduce water losses, greenhouse gas emissions, and energy costs. We are Hydrant AI. What do we need from you today? We need to grow in the US. And to do that, we're going to need partners, distribution and service. We're going to need customers, people who are ready to engage in a new technology, and we need investors to just rapidly increase our growth rate. Thank you. I'm Tim Southerns from Digital Water Solutions.
Thanks, Tim. Up next, all the way from India, we have Smart Terra, an AI-powered analytics software that helps water utilities create a digital operational model of their networking customers. Here's their founder, Gokul Krishna.
Good morning, folks. At Smart Terra, we built a data analytics platform to help water utilities analyze their existing data in order to reduce water losses and crucially improve revenue. So utilities, having undergone some digital transformation, collect a lot of data from either the customer consumption side or the network O&M side. However, they fail to utilize this data fully because it is challenging to integrate across data silos and various workflows. So in order to address this data analysis challenge, we built an AI-powered analytics platform, which is modular. It works with whatever data the utility already has in whatever format the database or the workflow has. It is delivered over the cloud as SaaS, and the platform creates field tasks from the analytics and learns continuously from the field feedback that comes back in. There are two modules, MeterCity, which is focused on apparent losses. So the utility uploads monthly meter readings and gets a ranked list of flagged meters or connections. The utility also gets a demand and revenue forecast and analysis. The second module is NetCity, where the network maps are onboarded once. The utility uploads maintenance data, say weekly, and it gets a ranked list of network segments which are dynamically assessed to be vulnerable. Flow and pressure data, as can be seen in the bottom right, from sensors can also be analyzed for anomalies or inefficiencies. So basically, the utility gets end-to-end operational intelligence, not just for loss analytics, but for any workflow such as meter replacement programs or network rehabilitation programs. We built this platform while working extensively with clients. Here are 3 case studies. The first one is with Suez in Bangalore, where the pilot zone was 100,000 connections, and we demonstrated a 3% annual revenue increase potential. The second one, which speaks to the modularity of the platform, is a small rural utility in Cambodia of just 5,000 connections, and we showed a potential 1% annual revenue increase. And the third use case is with L&T, an infrastructure major in a pilot zone of 1,000 connections with AMI meters. Here we were able to show an 80% accuracy at leak pre-localization. So if you are in utility looking to reduce losses and improve revenue, or if you are a metering or hardware provider or an NRW consultant looking to add value to your existing products or services, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gokul. And rounding out our SaaS sessions is Pani Energy out of British Columbia, Canada. Their CEO, Devesh Bhardwaj, will walk us through how Pani is utilizing a cloud-based analytics solution to help water treatment plants reduce operational cost, and emissions. Take it away,
Hi, I'm Devesh,
Devesh.
CEO of Pani, and today I would like to start by telling you a story about my friend Steve. Steve is an operator at a soft drain bottling facility in California. He's in charge for the water and wastewater part of the plant. And he's under a lot of pressure every day to reduce his energy, chemical consumption, and his water footprint by improving his recovery. But all Steve is able to do is just prevent his plant from breaking down. He's just running around every day, fighting fires, and just reacting to what's already happening. He does not have the tools or the time to stay ahead. He needs help, and he's not alone. Hundreds of thousands of facilities and for industrial water, wastewater, and city-scale utilities have the same problem. In our point of view, the hardware for treatment over the years has advanced, but the software to manage treatment facilities has not kept up. This is causing water treatment facilities thousands of dollars more in energy and in chemical costs, and in some cases CapEx upgrades, and they're taking on much higher risk. So they're facing downtime and compliance challenges. At Pani, we think this problem needs to be solved, and that's exactly what we're doing. We've introduced an AI operator coach that bridges this gap of technology for operations. What it does is it takes existing sensor data, lab data from the plant, and then it builds an operational twin of the plant, which is able to detect issues or opportunities, and then give operators, recommendations on what actions they can take, and what benefits they will get. In other cases, it's able to predict different equipment across the plant, how they may fail in the future or when they may need maintenance, helping them prevent downtime. We work with customers across the world, saving them hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, tens of millions of liters of water, and reducing their compliance and downtime risk. See, in the market over the years, there has been incumbent A, which is low value, low cost for remote monitoring, which is useful, but it does not solve this technology problem. The incumbent B that has been solving this technology problem has been high cost consulting packages, so really expensive, and it makes sense because each plant is different, so you have to calibrate the models for each plant. But hard for plants to adopt, so it's only been R&D projects so far. Where the real opportunity is on the bottom right, low cost, high value, where models can be repeatable, scalable. It's quite difficult to do, so that's why it's been an unserved market. It's difficult but not impossible, and this is exactly where Pani fits in. And we've been doing years of research to build the technology, which we call Process Operations AI. Simple to use, connects with plants with existing sensors, and allows them to get value with what they have, and starts a journey with them over time. It uses science, chemical engineering models, statistical AI, and codified operational knowledge, which has allowed us to bring down the costs and made it really simple for operations teams to use AI to unlock this problem. We connect with plants PLC or historian, then operators can also manually put in data in the platform, and they normally put the platform right next to the SCADA screen where they, from the Pani system, get recommendations, and In this example, the operator is getting a recommendation, they're fixing it, they may get set point recommendations, and they will also get predictions for the future of their assets, which together with their engineering team, they make schedules how to better run the plant. The technology is purpose-built for water, so we work with industrial water, wastewater, desalination, and municipal water and wastewater treatment. Nothing else. We don't focus on distribution, primarily treatment. We have some, really happy customers. We're working across India, Middle East, Europe, and Americas. Chairman of Abinand says the solution is so advanced that it rivals upgrading equipment. Suez, after working with us, said that there isn't a software provider in the water IIoT space that can do what Pani can do, and one of the best teams they've worked with. Aquatech uses the partnership for the low watt desalination to reduce the energy consumption biofouling. And we're well funded towards the mission of transforming operations, helping operators do more with less. We did an $8 million seed round last year. And now our asks today is to help meet corporate end users who we can help meet their sustainability, water usage goals, and reduce the risk of their water assets. And second, meet partners, channel partners that will want to partner with us to provide our product to their end customers. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Devesh. And those were our first 3 companies. They definitely started us off well. So I want to actually invite back Jesse Hill and Bill Dugan, and they're going to be asking our startups some of those hard questions. A reminder to everybody, if you have any questions for our startups, to please put them in the Q&A box. We will be monitoring that as well so that we can ask the startups too. So we'll invite back Jesse, Bill, Devesh, Gokul, and Tim.
You want to kick us off, Bill?
Sure. So reminder, if you have a question, put it in your Q&A, and then we'll try to incorporate it in our discussion. So I'll start off with a question for Tim. Tim, you talked about a desire to move into the U.S. Do you currently have any installations in the U.S.?
Yeah, Bill. So we actually have one current installation in the city of Atlanta, Georgia. They are using our technology primarily for pressure and transient detection. We're just in the process of upgrading them to the latest version of the technology. And we are actually shipping units tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, to U.S. Navy base in California, where they're going to be running a series of tests on the water distribution network at the base there. So we are making headway, but we'd like to make more headway and faster.
Terrific. Jesse, you want to take the next one?
Sure. Yeah. Question for Gokul and Smart Terra. I'm curious. When you do a deployment, can the end user kind of deploy this and set up and start getting analysis and do that kind of on their own without a lot of support from you guys?
Yeah, so what we do is we do an initial 1 to 2 week onboarding, but after that, the utility is able to upload the data or just run analysis all by themselves. We do provide support, but we have seen that utilities are able to get the analytics going on their own, pretty much. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. So I'll in interest of keeping this sort of even in terms of the questions, I'll ask the third one to Devesh. Devesh, you talked about your features. Can you talk about how much upfront digital investment is required for anyone who is interested in working with Pani?
Hey, that's a great question. So the way we've actually tiered our product is to reduce the amount of initial upfront investment needed in instrumentation. And we felt actually that's a key tenet to have digital be successful. So customers actually can start, if they don't have the right amount of instruments, they can start right away with $0 investments in instrumentation. And that's happened in the past with us. We have a food and beverage customer. They didn't have enough instrumentation. They started with the lowest tier of the product, manual data entry. And then they start seeing the ROI and they decide to invest themselves in basic instrumentation around the plant. And that can range tens of thousands of dollars to $200,000. It depends on where they invest. But it's very clear the ROI they will get. So initially when they started, this customer saved about 3-4% water savings. And now with investment in instrumentation and upgrading to the highest tier of the product, where they can predict failures and take predictive optimization, they're looking to save up to 10% in water. So it's a way for us to accelerate transformation for facilities.
Thanks very much, Devesh. James, do you want to take another question? We have one from the audience, but why don't you ask one first, and then we'll leave that in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. For Tim, I'm curious. What type of pipe material can you detect leaks in? For instance, can you do it in like a PVC pipe?
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. One of the benefits of our technology is because we're actually listening to the acoustic sound in the water column, and we embed our instrumentation right there, we have extremely good success in PVC pipes. In fact, all of our trialing and our R&D stages was completed on PVC for that reason. We know it's one of the challenges that's in the industry.
Awesome, thank you.
Great. And so, Tim, there's a question, I think it's directed to you. Can you tell me how small a leak the system will detect? Can you give us some kind of sense of what that would be?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the great case that we have is we had detected a leak in the system, and it turned out to be somebody filling their swimming pool from a hose in their backyard. So we were going right through the service connection out through the plumbing in their house into the backyard. And it turns out that, typical garden hose flow through all that piping. But we have been able to detect leaks, small pinhole leaks, the sort of size of, half your baby finger. So very small flow rates.
Great. Another question, Jesse?
Yeah, sorry, I just have my questions wrote down here. So for SmartTerra, so how it's the SaaS model. So what does your pricing model look like? So how do you price this out to customers?
We have a very transparent pricing. It is depending upon the number of modules that the utility uses and the integrations that are required. We charge an onboarding fee and then an annual subscription. Both these are transparently priced per connection or per hookup. So simplest cases, $1 to $2 per hookup annually. And we do offer volume discounts, etc. So that's a very simple pricing.
Cool. Great, thank you.
Thank you guys for all your questions. I know you probably have a ton more, but we do want to move along with our next three companies. So again, want to thank Gokul, Devesh, and Tim for some amazing pitches and some insight about the SaaS market today. So moving on to our next topic. So obviously COVID has affected all of us. We are doing this digitally, and pathogen detection has been kind of an up and coming area in terms of the water technology field. So we want to kick off our next round of pitches to focus on real-time analysis of microbial detection. And our first company up is WeConnect with Michael Perron.
Hi, I'm Michael Piron. I'm the CEO and founder of WeConnect. Who are we? WeConnect is a startup based in Paris, France, and dedicated to the following of wastewater, and especially the pathogen inside wastewater. So at first, we were experts in all the sewer network, the sewer management, and in 2018, some of our customers have asked after us to have some new technology to detect pH, temperature inside water and fresh water. This is the very beginning of the WeConnect project. We have developed a complete system of detection for all these parameters, and we have begun to sell it in January 2020, and then COVID. So at this moment, all the customers didn't expect to develop a new system, new technology, because all the fund was dedicated to the pandemic. So the French Ministry of Research, which is a great partner of us since the beginning, have asked in March 2020 to develop a new system to detect the COVID-19 inside wastewater. It was the very beginning of this system in France. And then we have begun a new partnership with Cranfield University in UK and with another startup in France called Loop Science. It was the very beginning of the system. We have made several development about concentration, detection, filtration, and then a result. We have developed a complete system based on a laboratory process. So we are able to detect this virus, which the dimension is about 50 nanometers, so it's very small. This is a pretty good thing because we are able to know in a real-time system if there is COVID or not inside a sample. This is the beginning. We have finished to develop it in August 2021, if I may say finish, because you never finish to develop something. And then we have begun to go on other markets, especially food and beverage, especially water and bathing water. And today, this is the main subject for us. So we are present in France, of course, and Paris and all the region in France, in Europe, Netherlands, especially, and Spain. We are present in USA, Chicago, and we are present since few days in South America. The hope, the vision that we have about WeConnect in the years to come is to be able to develop in a global, in a huge quantity, this automation system. Why? Because today it's very expensive, of course. So we are only able to work on treatment plants and some sewer network, but not everywhere. But the future is the same way than electrical automation system or water electrical automation system to detect the flow or to detect the power. We want to install it in every city, every street, every house, and to be able to say, okay, this morning we can detect if you have a disease or not. And this is the future of health. Grace to the water network and the wastewater network. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. What's better than real-time? Portable. Our next company, NanoFix Science, has developed a portable device for water quality monitoring to detect lead and other contaminants. Based out of Wisconsin, we have their Chief Science Officer, Dr. James Hill, to tell us more.
Hi, my name is James Hill with NanoFix Science. We're located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and our goal is to make water quality monitoring more accessible through the development of a real-time portable water testing device. NanoFix patented technology offers real-time and low-cost on-site testing of toxic contaminants such as lead. This is a platform technology that can be easily modified to detect a number of other contaminants, but we launched our first product earlier this year to focus on lead testing because this is a particularly serious problem in that even exposure to low concentrations of lead can cause long-term brain damage in children. So the NanoFix solution is this portable and inexpensive meter, which makes it possible to do tests faster, better, and cheaper than current methods. And this will enable people to test more frequently to ensure that their drinking water is safe for consumption. And our business model is the razor blade model. So the meter itself is sold close to at cost and can be used for years to make hundreds or even thousands of tests. And the sensors themselves are single use. There are three main groups of competitors: the paper test strips, which are easy to use, but very inaccurate and not quantitative; the ICP-MS, which is the gold standard laboratory test, which can take several days. It's very expensive and requires a trained technician to operate. And there are direct competitors, the portable analyzers, which typically cost twice as much and have much more complicated sample prep. Initially, we'd like to focus on high volume users because within a few weeks, the number of tests that they would perform would cover the cost of the meter. This would include water treatment facilities, schools, daycares, but also water filtration installers and home inspectors. So we wrapped up a beta testing program prior to our product launch, and we received very positive feedback on ease of use, which is one of our main goals. Currently, we're looking for strategic business partners to assist with distribution since we don't have a sales team. And we're also working on leveraging our existing network and marketing through trade shows and social media. We reached some major milestones earlier this year in launching our first product and making our first sales. And over the coming years, we'd like to scale up manufacturing, obtain product certifications, and continue to launch new tests at a rate of about one every 6 months. And none of this would have been possible without our standing team, especially our owner and founder, Junhong Chen, who is currently a professor at the University of Chicago with a joint appointment as a lead water strategist at Argonne National Laboratory. So thanks again for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, James. And rounding out our pitches for this round is Isabel Nudekal of Coliminder. Based out of Austria, Coliminder is an online bacteria analyzer that's able to measure the bacterial contamination in water within 15 minutes. Here's Isabel to tell us more.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Isabel. I am head of sales and marketing at Vienna Water Monitoring Solutions, and I'm pleased to introduce to you today our Coliminder, which is a system for fully automated online measurements of bacterial contamination in water, providing the so important microbiological contamination as a process parameter. The situation today is that microbiological contamination as one of the most important water quality parameters is still evaluated using a 1 to 5 days manual lab method. Introducing the Coliminder enables fully automatic online measurements of bacterial contamination in water in almost real time. The Coliminder is suitable for all applications. For drinking water, it is used in water bottling and beverage production, surface and bathing waters, in membrane integrity monitoring, process water, and wastewater. Its key features are: it's an at-line instrument. It is operating fully automatic, including sampling, measurement, cleaning, and recalibration, and enables operation of up to 1,000 measurements without any staff intervention. It is fast, only 15 minutes from sampling to result. The device is fully online, and it conducts specific measurements for determined indicator organisms, which are E. coli and Enterococci bacteria as an indicator of fecal contamination, and total microbiological activity, providing a signal from every living organisms present in the sample. The Coliminder is a process monitoring device used for early warning, to enable quick reaction in contamination events, for process feedback, and for process control. Its competitive advantage is that it's got by far, among other devices or similar devices, the fastest time to result. It provides specific measurements of target organisms. It's got a proven reliability and robustness in over 60 applications throughout the globe. And it's the most sensitive instrument on the market, which has been proven by a scientific peer-reviewed comparison study published last year. In this study, the Coliminder was the only device among several tested ones which indicated contamination in every concentration. The Coliminder deployment around the globe includes over 60 installations at customers. We're currently building and strengthening our distribution partner network. And we're also serving our key customers directly. Among them are, for instance, Denver's Metro Water Recovery, who are using the Coliminder for controlling disinfection in wastewater treatment. Nestle Waters, using the Coliminder in their bottling process. The city of Paris, together with Eau de Paris, using the Coliminder to monitor bathing waters dedicated for Olympic Summer Games in 2024, but also in drinking water. The Water Supplies Department in Hong Kong is using the Coliminder in drinking water, as well as Rand Water in South Africa, currently using 2 devices. We are looking for new customers and distribution partners, as well as sales rep in North America, and we're happy to discuss your application and answer any probable questions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. Happy to receive your questions.
Thanks so much, Isabel. And now I would like to invite back Michael, James, Isabel, and we'll also be having Wolfgang from Coliminder to answer some questions from our experts, Jesse Hill and Bill Dugan. Just a reminder again, if you have any questions for our companies, to please place them in the chat, and Bill and Jesse will be sure to address them. Take it away, Bill.
Great. While we wait for Jesse to show up, well, I'll start to ask some of these questions. First, I have a question for Michael, and that is specifically, what are you seeking to do next in terms of the technology? You've clearly demonstrated that you have some ability to detect viral. Are you adding measures or new biologicals or other types of detection?
Yes, finally, actually, we do the COVID and we work on 2 more pathogens, especially the Salmonella with Boehringer and some other with Suez. So this is a real goal for us to be able to make a detection of several pathogens. Today, we have made the detection with a PCR system inside our mini laboratory, if I may say. The goal is to have a global spectrophotometer inside our system to be able to detect any kind of pathogen. We have a map, for example, a map of each pathogens. And this is something possible grace to our partnership we had since few months with Green Tropism, which is a really incredible company in terms of spectrometer. So yes, we have in look, we have to detect HIV, we have to detect Salmonella, we have to detect flu probably in September or October 2022.
Yes, thanks. Jesse, question?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Yeah, James, curious, so what other kind of contaminants can your technology detect?
Well, thanks for the question. So the technology itself is a platform, and that it functions based on the contaminant coming and chemically binding to the surface. And then we can measure the change in conductivity across the surface. So we have several thin film coatings that go onto each of the sensors. And simply by changing out the top coating or 2, we can target selectively different compounds. So we're currently targeting, other heavy metals, such as, mercury, arsenic. We've also done a little bit of preliminary research and looking at things like phosphate, nitrates, and as well as bacteria, doing some proof of concept work with E. coli. So we look forward to launching tests in the future, and the same meter can be used to just to swap out the different types of sensors to run those tests.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, James. Isabel, a question for you. This claim of being able to measure in 15 minutes is pretty impressive. Can you talk about specifically how you're able to deliver on that 15-minute claim?
I'll leave that question to Wolfgang. Wolfgang, can you overtake?
Yes. Is Wolfgang out there?
Supposed to be. If not, I will try to answer, as I'm not the technical person, not the inventor of the technology. It's our technology doesn't cultivate any organisms as the traditional method does. Our technology uses the fact that every living organism needs a metabolism. And for this metabolism, every living organism is using enzyme to catalyze the metabolic procedures or metabolic processes. And the enzymatic activity measurements are a well-known procedure in science and medicine. Since quite a long time, it's the so-called enzyme assay. And our technology, the Cooling-Minder, is an automatization of the enzyme assay. So we are measuring the enzymatic activity of the respective target organisms which are present in the sample, so that the technology does not need any pretreatment, neither any filtration. And this is why we can always maintain the 15 minutes time to result independent of the level of contamination.
That's great. Isabel, that's the best technical answer from a marketing person I've heard in a long time, so don't sell yourself short. Jesse, another question?
Yeah, Michael, I'm curious. So who are you looking to engage with as you come to the U.S.? Are you looking for investment partners, maybe other types of partners, distribution, new customers, maybe all of the above? Where's your focus?
Yes, it's basically all of this, if I may say. We are already present in Chicago since few months, and we are doing a lot of tests on several samples of the region of Chicago and Illinois. Our system is based inside the UIC campus since October. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, and now we have the proof of concept, because it's way difficult to detect a virus which is very little organism, and now we have this proof of concept. We want to extend on several customers all around the US, of course. So for this thing, we are looking for two things. The first one is a partner to be able to sell our product, or maybe produce our product in the near future. And the other thing is that we are finalizing actually a seed funding from 1.3 million euros. So we are looking for a last partner. We have already some of them, specialists in Europe and public organizations. So we are looking for last one on US, to be able to have the both Europe and US inside our board.
Thank you.
James, I have a question for you that comes from the audience. Can you talk about the longevity of the sensors?
Sure, absolutely. It's a great question. So in particular, the lead sensors have fairly good stability, just because of the different types of thin film coatings that we put onto the surface. So we have some preliminary data that suggest easily 3-month stability, and we're working on collecting stability or shelf life data beyond that. And I think also if we improve the packaging, we can extend that significantly further.
Great. Anything else, James? Or Jesse? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. We have the same last name, so
Oh yeah,
it's the same name as my dad. So
well, I did a double take because I have a brother named Jesse Hill. No, wait, you're not that Jesse Hill. First I thought, oh, maybe he got a job that I didn't know about.
No, Isabel, I'm curious, can you do compliance testing at the coal mine?
No, a clear answer. The WHO in their drinking water directive, as well as the European Union, have developed the concept of operational monitoring versus compliance testing to enable new technologies like ours to enter the market without any long-term 10 years taking certification process. And our device, I think, quite similarly to the other technologies presented here, are definitely used for operational monitoring. But of course, in use for operational monitoring, this device, the Coliminder, can definitely help the users reaching the goals, the measurement or contamination goals as set out in regulations at the highest efficiency and lowest cost, because it is an early warning, an indicator for a contamination building up, and they would see it in almost real time, and then they can take timely measures to then finally match the goals as set out in regulations.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
Great. BREW, are we okay on time, or should we? Do we have time for another question? Your call.
I think we're actually going to move on, but it was so exciting
Okay.
to hear about these 3 technologies. So thank you so much to Michael, James, and Isabel. Also, I just loved what Michael had said about, it's never finished, right? We're always developing and creating more for those products. So thanks so much for more info about real-time analyzers and microbial contaminants. So moving on to our last round of 4 companies. They're a bit of a potpourri, just like the water treatment. It's not a one size fits all. So our last 4 companies kind of show that. So kicking us off is Vanessa Ricars from Kenwave. We've heard about software as a service, but what about infrastructure assessment as a service? Kenwave, based out of Ontario, Canada,
I'm Vanessa,
is doing that.
with Kenwave Solutions. America's backlog of water main replacement and repairs requires hundreds of billions in new spending. Even the new infrastructure bill can't solve the problems with today's approach. Currently, cities replace 9 feet of good pipe for every foot of bad pipe they need to replace. Now, I'd like to ask you some questions. What if you could help cities surgically target pipes most likely to fail and take advantage of trenchless rehab to achieve a 12-fold cost benefit improvement? What if you could avoid shutting down a treatment plant when the increased pressure from newly built digesters burst a single section of pipe that had been assessed as safe by traditional means. What if you could help an operations manager find a leak on a plastic pipe which had caused residents to complain for over a year when all conventional detection methods had failed? What if you kept heat on at one of the world's busiest airports by replacing simulation with actual data and avoid having the only heating line break from hidden corrosion? What if you could help cities, power plants, and industry find not only the leaks they have today, but the ones they will have tomorrow? What if we could show you how somebody already did all those things with a tool you can fit in a briefcase? That tool is Tonal Pipe Assessment, or TPA, developed at the Water Council in the original BREW program. TPA is an accurate, economical, and completely non-invasive tool for assessing water mains and other pressurized pipes of all standard materials with pipe stick resolution. What if you joined the TPA team? How many more cities, airports, and factories could we help by working together? Could you be the partner who brings TPA into your market? Will your utility pilot or deploy TPA to assess your pipes? Are you the investor who will make TPA even more available by expanding our product portfolio to include permanent monitoring and validate TPA's ability to detect lead pipe? Let's make what if real together. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Vanessa. And next up, coming all the way from Stockholm, Sweden, we have Stockholm Water. Kartik Laxman will share with us how Stockholm Water is using their patent technology to revolutionize terrible drinking water for both commercial and consumer use. Take it away, Kartik.
Hi, my name is Kartik Laxman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Stockholm Water Technology, a Swedish company which works on bringing sustainability to water treatment. And we are aware of the challenges which are associated with water, and there are great technologies and individuals which are working to solve these challenges, but there are also gaps which need to be thought about. Some of these gaps I've listed here, which is expensive water treatment equipment which are not smart enough to make their own decisions, high net CO2 footprint of solutions with very little water recovery, not much circularity, and in general, very little operational flexibility to treat water. And these are the challenges, and these are the gaps that need to be addressed if we have to bring about a water secure future for everybody. At Stockholm Water Technology, we have a product which can address many of these gaps. We bring about tailored water, which is software defined, which means that you can tell our device what kind of water you want to generate, and the device will generate that kind of water for you. So one piece of hardware, which is scalable limitlessly, it can take in various sources of input water and generate various qualities of output water completely programmed by our software. This kind of flexibility is not available in the market today. And the reason we have this flexibility is because of the core technology that we use, which is electrocapacitive in nature. So essentially, we build supercapacitors which use contaminated water as electrolyte. So if I put this into perspective, we have products which bring about high flexibility in tailoring your water output and hence energy use. We have a technology which stores energy while cleaning water. You combine them and you have almost a 50% low energy consumption compared to existing technologies in the market. And we have products which have up to 90% water recovery. So we're hitting all the key points, key elements which are important to bring about smart solutions for the smart cities of tomorrow. And on top of it, we have products which have one of the widest contaminant removal profiles in the market. So from dissolved gases to radioactive isotopes, microbial matter, heavy metals like lead, nitrates, organic contaminants, micropollutants, salinity hardness. We can remove all of them in a single step, hence replacing multiple filters with one single solution. We have commercialized our products within Europe, specifically within Scandinavia and in the Benelux region, Netherlands and Belgium. Our core areas of operation are for ground and surface water, converting it into drinking water. Our tailored water feature has found great application in breweries, and in aquaculture plants, we bring about the flexibility to recover the nitrates and phosphates as a concentrate while ensuring that the water is recirculated, so hence circular water economy. And we have initial pilots within the industrial water segment, specifically in pharmaceutical, and combined, they give us a total addressable market of almost $434 billion USD, which is growing at a CAGR of between 8 and 15%, and an obtainable market of $63 billion USD, which is when it comes down to the core technologies that we can replace today and the current geographical reach of the company, which is what we want to expand through this BREW 2.0 program. So here are some pictures of selected commercial installations that we have for microbreweries in Sweden, fish farms in Denmark, and also drinking water solutions in various parts of Sweden. We got great feedback from all the customers, which have led to further sales. So technology is working well. The product is meeting all the market needs, and hence we're seeing a pull for the product in the market. And the company is going forward. I mean, it's a company which was started after more than 10 years of R&D. As of today, we have a good set of investors, and we recently raised money to take the product, to increase the market reach of the product, increase the sales revenue, which is also why we're in the BREW 2.0 program, because we want to enter the US market, because we see a great fit and potential for our product in the US. We have a wonderful team, which is a mix of experience and youth, and we will not stop until we ensure that sustainability and Stockholm Water are spoken synonymously. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kartik. And I know it's early, but it does make me want a beer after you talk about breweries. So PFAS is a term that seems to be haunting many of us in the water industries these days, and Aqua Agua is utilizing their technology to destroy the forever chemicals on site. Based out of Tacoma, Washington, we have their founder and CEO, Nigel Sharp. Also look out for their signature animal.
Sharp, CEO and co-founder of a company called Aquaga, and we're on a mission to put the end to PFAS. I have a 6-year-old daughter, her name's Victoria. I don't know, at some point in your life, you realize that you're the adult in the room and you worry about the world that you're leaving behind to your kids and looking forward to what's going on. And we live in such a manic environment and such a manic world that we get really concerned about what that really shapes up and looks like. And then you hear about something like PFAS. PFAS, the per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or as you better know them, Teflon, Gore-Tex, Rain-X, Scotchgard, and various firefighting foams that have been used in consumer products across the nation and around the world. And they're getting talked about in every late night TV show host right now, with Trevor Noah doing specials and John Oliver talking about it as well as movies like Dark Waters coming out. And you start realizing that, wait a minute, here's a huge crisis of a magnitude. This is the scale of asbestos and CFCs combined. And the reason why it's being talked about so much is because it is affecting absolutely everybody's health. PFAS, unfortunately, causes cancers, causes pregnancy complications, and it does this in the lowest measurable concentrations, with the EPA setting a new lifetime health advisory down in the part per quadrillion. That is much less than even a drop in 100 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So where does this sit for everyone else that's sitting around the country right now? Well, unfortunately, it's not good news. PFAS is absolutely everywhere. Not only is it a chemical that lasts forever and has no way of being broken down, but it's a chemical that exists everywhere. We've been funded by 6 federal agencies because we did find a way to do the impossible and break this compound down once and for all, with multiple agencies funding us to do research, development, technology development, and most importantly, actual real remediation projects, funded by groups like the EPA and the FAA, and notably winning the EPA's Destroy PFAS Challenge, a global challenge put out to many, many organizations around the world. How do we do this? We do this with a containerized system that goes on site and ends the liability for organizations that are affected by PFAS and are producing PFAS-rich wastes, or basically a pressure cooker on steroids to cook up and destroy PFAS. We've made a huge amount of progress in the last 2 years, building up our office environment, working out there to take on actual water samples and destroy this stuff, to then developing out our first pilot system and pilot series unit, all the way across to actually getting that unit finalized and working. So we're really proud to be able to show you guys right now that we have a fully operational and one of the largest PFAS destruction units in the world operating and destroying PFAS every day. I'm surrounded by a fantastic team, Brian and Chris, my co-founders, along with a wonderful group of engineers and other folks who are bringing on the team. I'm really embracing sort of putting a bunch of diverse skills and individuals into solving and tackling the challenge around PFAS. We hope you guys want to learn a bit more. Find me and send me an email at nigel@aquaga.com. Or if you want to learn more about ending PFAS, go to endingpfas.com and see if you can be sort of part of the solution as well. I want to keep the flow going. Look forward to you guys reaching out. Happy to take the chat further. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nigel. And for those that joined us last year, you might be thinking, where's that British guy that hosted last year? Well, he's here to close us out. Coming to us from the UK, we have Andrew Walker of Evolve, who'll be sharing how their enhanced product range helps provide more precise and controllable filtration for existing membranes. Take it away, Andrew.
Hi, I'm Chris Wyers, CEO of Evolve, and we make advanced membrane filtration technologies. Imagine if it didn't cost the Earth to desalinate and purify water, to recycle it and filter rare earths and precious metals from liquids. But as it is, filtration is energy intensive, costly, and often troublesome. The supply of water consumes up to 16% of our energy in some regions, with an increasing tendency as we rely more and more on desalination. There is lots of room to improve, and that is where we come in. The single biggest problem is that membrane filters foul up quickly. This is down to their inherent flaws from conventional manufacturing processes. To compensate, typically pressures are increased and the process interrupted frequently to backwash the membranes, but that costs energy and chemicals, system downtime, and shortened membrane lifetime. Our technologies combine advanced material science with additive manufacturing for the perfect membrane. Our enhanced products use graphene-based coatings and 3D printed inserts and spacers. They cut energy footprints in half and achieve a 5x increase in flux. In one recent project, the client is now able to recycle 80% of its industrial wastewater, significantly decarbonising its process and increasing their profitability. Another client in the food and beverage sector has doubled their yield, and we're also breaking new ground in enabling lithium to be harvested locally from unconventional waters. This is just a small taste of the impact our technologies are having. We're keen to take on your filtration challenge.
Well, Andrew threw me for a loop there and put in Chris instead of him, but I do know he's here to answer questions. So thank you so much to our last 4 companies. They really closed us out here with our brew pitches. We want to welcome back Vanessa, Kartik, Nigel, and Andrew to answer some of those hard questions from Jesse and Bill. So take it away, Bill.
Great. Jesse, you want to go first?
Sure. Is Vanessa back on?
Oh, I'm standing in for Vanessa.
That's right.
Harrison.
Right.
Don't worry.
Cool. So what are your market entry plans for the US?
Well, we've already started some work in the United States this year. So we have projects currently underway in Oregon, Colorado, California, and Texas. But we're hoping to partner with strategic companies, whether that's an engineering firm or a service provider, who can take the TPA units and provide the surveys locally. That's our preferred method. But also some, more sophisticated utilities who have their own field operators who are familiar with perhaps existing leak detection tools could also take the equipment and not only potentially service their own networks, but neighboring utilities as well.
So I have a quick question for Aquagua. I'll jump out of the order here a little bit, but I think that's okay. The question for you, Nigel, is what are your next steps for the unit and what is the efficiency of the machine now?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Next steps for the unit is the pilot series is operational. We're taking water samples and receiving samples and working with clients now, nationwide and even internationally with that unit. We're getting other ones built, and then the EPA has funded our Steed series unit, which is our sort of containerized unit, along with the FAA. So we'll have a couple of those units operational by the end of the year. So we're scaling things up basically to actually be able to hit meaningful industrial size volumes. As far as efficiencies right now, we're currently the world leading PFAS destruction technologies. So we are demonstrating repeatedly 6 nines of destruction. So 99.9999% destruction on a single pass and run with flow rates that are also setting the standard around that as well. So highly efficient. And we can get into more technical detail again, just reach out to me personally and I'll be more than happy to chat or in one of the breakouts.
Terrific. they can certainly work with you in the meeting rooms afterwards. Next question, Jesse.
Yeah, Karthik, I'm curious. So, what kind of energy recovery do you get from the device, and how does that actually function?
Okay, so the core of the device is basically a supercapacitor, right? So when you charge a supercapacitor, that's when the water is cleaned, and when you discharge all the contaminants, the energy comes out. So how much energy goes in? If you want to recover it, you get up to 50% back. But what the absolute value of how much energy comes back is completely dependent on how much energy is used for the water treatment process. So we leave it up to the customer to see if it's viable for them, because if it's a small system, then energy use is also quite small, because that's one of our key sales points, at low energy usage. But whereas for large systems, it becomes quite important to recover the energy. So wherein we can say that up to 50% we can get back from what was used for the treatment process.
Thanks, Karthik. I have a question for Andrew. Andrew, can you talk about the time frame for, you talk about energy savings, et cetera. Can you talk about a return on investment time frame for installation, based on some of the current deployments?
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, BREW, for keeping you on your toes there. The time frame in terms of the savings that a customer can make or the return on their investment is actually zero. It's immediate. Why? Because we typically go into a project in a gain share model. In other words, we make all the investments to the enhancement of the either the incumbent existing membrane systems we can retrofit, or we can recommend membranes which we bring in, or in the very near future, in about a year's time, we'll have our own fully 3D printed membranes. Because the gain share model, it really means that the customer makes savings immediately.
Terrific. Got a question, Jesse?
Yeah, Nigel, I'm curious to see your logo behind you and the zebra stripes. I read a little bit about your company, the zebra company. Can you kind of explain where that comes from?
Yeah, it comes up more often than you believe, Jesse. So the zebra is something that I'm trying to inspire because I was inspired a few years ago by a blog post from a group called Zebras Unite, who talk about fixing what fixing the challenges. Zebras fix what unicorns break, I think was the name of the blog post. And unicorn companies, these billion-dollar companies, who try and grab everything for themselves and disrupt as much as they can. But we work in the world of water, and here there's a need for us to be sort of more collaborative and work together. So zebras work in herds, right? They don't try and stand out from the group, but actually try and blend in some ways. And they have two stripes. They have both a for-profit component to them, but they also have a social and environmental mission. So the word quagga, the word quagga is actually an extinct type of zebra. So it's a zebra. So we literally have the name of the company Zebra. And the secret for the 100 people that are on today is if you look at the logo carefully, you might even see a zebra head hidden in there somewhere. So, yeah.
Oh, I see it now.
Got it.
Yeah,
so we have another question coming from the audience, a technical question for you, Karthik. That question is, once the contaminants are released from the supercapacitor, how are they physically removed from the housing for the device?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the capacitor is open system unit. That means that water flows in and flows out. It's not a fixed volume. So every time we release the contaminants, we have small bursts of water which push the contaminants out. And that's how we also control the water recovery rate. We can go all the way up to 90%. So it's basically water which is pushing out the contaminants which are coming out from the supercapacitor.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bill, I have one more question for Harris.
Sure.
Curious, what's the length? So how many feet or miles can you inspect per day? And then what type of logistical support for that is needed?
Sure. So typically a two-person crew is able to inspect between a mile and a half a day. And in terms of logistical support, that normally is down to traffic control if you're in a busy neighborhood and you have to access the street. Or in rare cases, we might need a hydrant operator, excuse me, to open a closed valve or something for us to be able to put our sensor on top of the valve or attach it to a hydrant. But other than that, it's a very minimal system, very similar to what's already done for leak detection today.
Okay, great.
Great. So I've got another question for Andrew. You mentioned lithium. We had this discussion, but I think it's interesting for the crowd. You mentioned lithium. What does a water tech company have to do with rare minerals?
Well, the water cycle is circular, and many of the things which we should be doing and could be doing in our industries and for our societies should also be circular. But if you have a lot of what we would call wastewaters in the past, coming out of mining operations, coming out of geothermal industries, produced water from oil and gas, not only is it our responsibility to clean up that water before putting it back into the ecosystem, but it also contains a tremendous amount of valuable products. And one in particular, which is very hot with prices going through the roof and a massive dependency on a global supply chain, which is dependent really on one country, is lithium. Now, lithium is quite omnipresent in North America as well. There are many sources of it. The difficulty is, how can you extract that lithium from waters of many, many different kinds? And the answer is, well, with membranes, but only membranes which are very precise at being able to harvest and fish out a particular species of molecular size and molecular weight cutoff. And so our technologies has proven to double the extraction rates compared to the next best technology. According to our customers, they can get about 50% of the lithium out of their geothermal waters in this particular case. And we're just about to go to a pilot where, well, in the lab, we've got over 90%, and in the pilot, we're confident of at least achieving the customer's quite ambitious goals. So lithium is of great importance, and with precision membranes, which we can help provide, you can extract it very cost efficiently and locally.
Thank you. Jesse, anything else?
Yeah, one other question for Karthik. So curious, how are you planning to scale as you grow? Are you set up for growth as far as sales and production?
Yeah, we're working on that. We have certain distributors now, and we have local production, and we have supply chain coming in from various parts of the world, engineered parts. But our goal is to enter the US market because it's a huge scope there. And we have to have local production, local partners to be able to be cost effective in this market. So while we are set up to scale within the Scandinavian market, within the US market, we need some help and support.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Nigel, another question for you. So as your solution is really about concentrated waste, can you talk about some specific case examples of where you had deployment of this and how it provided value for the customer?
Yeah, sure. Bill, I'd be happy to. I mean, it gets being mindful of time here. I think where we really plug in is we plug into the back end of a lot of water treatment trains. So if you're dealing with concentration because of ion exchange resin, regen brines, foam fractionation technologies, regenerated GAC that's out there, RO reject water. We've done work with direct AFFF disposal as well. We've probably done something like close to 14 or 16 different direct case studies now with different influence streams. We probably have one of the most agnostic technologies. If you have some liquid, nasty, toxic waste that needs to get destroyed, we are definitely a go-to technology with applications in most chlorinated, chlorinated compounds that can be broken down. But PFAS is the current target and goal that we're tackling. So yeah, if we can pump it, we can probably treat it, Bill. And we've done a lot of different projects and pieces. And I would just direct folks to go look at the product section of our website and look at some of those case studies highlighted there. Landfill leachates and stuff have been an exciting avenue for us, with really, really tough stuff to deal with. So.
Thanks, Nigel. Thanks for that clarification too. So we got a couple other questions that are starting to come in on the chat. So someone has asked a question. They're curious if anyone would like to chime in on any particularly positive sales methods or channels they're having and or sales problems they're having and what their wants and needs are relative to sales. And so someone can field that as they wish. Yeah, sure, Andrew, go ahead.
We are very keen on engaging with the municipal market, as well as a lot of the industries and the high-tech industries which we're involved with, semiconductors and food and bev. We mentioned lithium. But the difficulty there, and that's the sales challenge, is the hesitancy to pick up new technologies, especially ones which are based on technologies that the municipal market has not necessarily had good experience with, membranes in this particular case. So our challenge is to the municipal operators, how can we get some exponential technologies working well, especially when we want to work as well on a partnership and licensing and gain share model and not a capex sale.
Yes, and that gain share value proposition is really nice. Anyone else have a response to that question about sales methods or problems here, Karthik?
Yeah, I just want to share something which has worked for us, which we are exploring. It's called water as a service. So wherein we basically help the customer to avoid the initial capex cost, but we work on a monthly rental model or a model wherein they pay per unit of water which they treat. So this is quite interesting, mostly because the product has a long life, and it's quite useful to actually gain good market share in the beginning. It needs a little bit of investments, but you get a good customer base to take it forward and the recurring revenue.
Yeah, so not only water as a service, but tailored water as a service, which I really, like that tailored water concept. If anyone else have a response that they want to add? If not, I've got another question. Actually, a question for Nigel. Can you talk about what the current maximum flow rate would be for filtered PFAS? What sort of output rate would you have?
Sure. So, I mean, all of our systems are continuous systems, which I think is really key in this conversation. We have 3 size systems. They vary from a pilot scale, which is really for demonstrations, down at sort of around 10 gallons an hour, all the way up to about 1,000 gallons an hour for our largest sort of scale system. But I think what's really important there is to understand these are systems that pair with pre-concentration technology. So we don't do the filtering. Filtering technologies already exist and can operate at huge scale. So we've seen pairings with groups like ion exchange resins for drinking water that can operate million-gallon-a-day plants and generate tens of gallons of actual wastewater, waste PFAS that needs to be destroyed. So really concentrates is where Aquaga plugs in. Another good example here would be a foam fractionation technology with a landfill leachate. Again, operating in hundreds of thousands of gallons a day, but the actual foam fractionate and the PFAS foam that needs to be then destroyed at the end is down in the hundreds of gallons, which is where Aquaga plugs in one of our mid-size systems. So it's a kind of a pairing component to this, but there's a concentrate step and a destroy step, and therefore we can hit full-size industrial scale with our mid-size and large-scale systems.
Great. Jesse, any other questions?
Yeah, for Andrew. So what markets are you currently working in?
Well, we talked about lithium. Some of the more interesting applications are in food and beverage, where a lot of whiskey producers, BREW mentioned beer before, I can talk about beer as well. But they're really interested in trying to circumvent some more traditional process steps. For example, with whiskey, especially in the higher grade bourbons, the end product, if you put it, heaven forbid, put some ice into your glass, sometimes can be a little bit cloudy. And that's due to the greases, the residues from the original produce from which the whiskey is distilled. Now, to circumvent that, particularly with the higher grade whiskies, they use a coagulation process which relies on chilling. And that costs a tremendous amount of energy and is usually not easy to do at a very local site. And so in that particular application, food and bev, we are using membrane filtration instead and saving them a tremendous amount of energy. So that's the food and bev side of things. We mentioned lithium, we mentioned the semiconductor side of things, and then desalination. So we're just about to launch some brand new spacer technologies for spiral wound membranes. which we can get an active surface area, so the amount of membrane available to treat the water, an increase of over 40% without having to increase the pressure and therefore use any additional energy. So for the reverse osmosis process, we're talking about a productivity improvement of something like 40%, which could be quite significant in desalination worldwide.
Great. Making the world good for cheap, high quality whiskey is an excellent goal of any organization, as far as I'm concerned. Harrison, got a question for you, and then we'll open it up. I want to sort of remind folks in the audience, we got a little bit of time for additional questions, but can you talk about the issue of pipe identification? I mean, you mentioned leak identification across a wide variety of pipe types. Can you actually identify the types of pipe that are there? I know there are a lot of installed systems where people don't know what's under there.
Yes, that's actually one of the unique points of the technology. So recently, we had a project up in Northern Ontario where the engineering firm believed the system was predominantly made out of ductile iron. And in fact, when we conducted our survey, we found that it was about 65% PVC. And in fact, it wasn't actual AWWA rated drinking water PVC, it was irrigation pipe. And that came about because not only can we identify the material, but we get the wall properties. So we knew this didn't have the appropriate wall thickness for being a water main. And they validated that by digging up various segments of pipe. We've also done areas where we had a project in Monterey where they were interested. They knew the majority of their system was the opposite. They knew the majority of what they were looking at was PVC, but they had some ductile sections where they didn't have good records of where that actually transitioned. And we were able to locate those transition points for them as well. We've done something similar for the city of Toronto. And what we're hoping to do is extend that. So we've shown we can identify as between metals, for example, between ductile and steel, between PVC and HDPE, between asbestos cement and pre-stressed concrete. And we also believe that there's no reason why we can't use this to identify, for example, copper and lead lines as well, with the same technology and the same tool.
Great. Well, so we're nearing the end of our time here, and just want to ask one more query from the audience to see if you have any.
Yep. Thanks, Bill, for kicking us off and reminding everybody. Yes, we do have some extra time. So if you have questions for any of our companies that you've heard from today, please do put that in the Q&A. I also wanted to invite you. We're going to turn it back to the audience for a little bit, but we're actually going to be launching a poll in about a minute. And you can vote for, the most promising technology and best pitch that you heard today. So which company impressed you the best? And we will be running that poll for the next few minutes as well. But really, I want to thank Bill and Jesse for asking some really tough questions to our technologies. All of the technologies were so impressive. And if you liked what you heard today, I think you might like, this is a shameless plug for me, obviously, but I think you might like what you might hear at WEFTech, which is coming up this October, 10th and 12th in New Orleans, Louisiana this year. For those of you not familiar, WEFTech is the largest annual water conference in North America held annually by the Water Environment Federation. And we actually have an area called the Innovation Neighborhood, where a lot of these companies have exhibited in the past or maybe exhibiting this year. But we do a little bit of programming there as well for Innovation Theater. We have an SDG Theater. We heard a lot about the circular economy of water and how people are making global impacts. So you can learn more about that at SDG, and also the Global Center, where the Water Council is actually one of our sponsors for. And you'll definitely be able to find out more from the Water Council and some of these companies in October in New Orleans too. So I will check very quickly to see if we have any outstanding questions. Bill, do you know if we have any outstanding questions as everybody is voting? I see some votes coming in as well.
We absolutely do. A question for Andrew. Andrew, have you worked to filter out acetones and alcohols?
Acetones and alcohols. I mean, we can get down with reverse osmosis to, basically any level of filtration that you want to. And so it's not really a problem to get anything out of that water. We can make it so pure that it would suck your teeth out if you drank it. So but the issue is not really what you can do. The issue is how precise you can do it. So can you take out singular species of a certain molecular weight cutoff? Can you isolate just lithium? Can you get rid of divalent ions? And the answer with traditional membranes is it's very difficult to do in one pass. The answer with evolved membranes is absolutely.
Thank you, Andrew. There's another question which we may address in a bit, which is, will the recording of this session be available and will it be communicated to the participants? And I think the answer to that is yes. And I think that will be part of our wrap up. So look out for that issue. Nigel, I have a question for you, which I mean, clearly in the way you did your presentation, you talked about that this is really a deep science sort of concept that's working its way from the kind of funding availabilities with deep science. What do you foresee as the sort of fundraising, the private sector fundraising resources that you would need and possible relationships that you would look for in those fund sources?
You're offering me some money, you know, I could definitely, I could definitely tell. We're actually, I mean, we're trying to set a really interesting standard around sort of being a high growth venture style startup in a space that, you know, conservatively usually doesn't do that type of thing. But you know, we've only been around 2.5 years. We've managed to draw in, you know, close to $2 million of federal support and funding to date. But we've taken very little private investment. We are now opening up to take on private investment. And I would encourage any private investors who are interested in making a seed-sized investment, so somewhere in the regions of, you know, $2 to $5 million is something that, you know, we're beginning to look for. But as this isn't a closed forum, I'm not going to make a public declaration looking for any kind of cash here. But yeah, more than happy to take investment conversations straight to my email, nigel@aquaga.com, or, you know, you can find me through this in the Hangout rooms.
Got it. Here's another question about the graphene in the membrane, which I presume would be directed to you, Andrew.
That's right. Yeah, so our first generation of products is graphene-based coatings.
So is there any leach out from the membrane?
No, I mean, we would need to run those membranes for many more years than the few years that we've been running them now to be, you know, 100% sure. But both our models and our current experience shows that it does not leach out whatsoever. No, and in fact, in terms of the integrity of the graphene coating, it will last longer than at least a polymer membrane will.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bill. Thanks, Andrew. If you guys continue to have any questions, please put them in the chat. I think our speakers our founders can answer them there. And as someone mentioned, yes, the recording is going to be available and it'll be going out after this session, along with contact information for all of the companies as well. If you haven't had a chance to vote yet, definitely please do vote for both the most promising technology that you heard today and best pitch. I am now going to hand it back over to Dean and Jesse to close us out for the afternoon, afternoon.
Thanks very much, Bree. Excellent job. Congratulations on really a terrific session. So you did a fantastic leading all this through the virtual path. And I love the little plug for WEFTEC, which I will certainly endorse as well. Thanks to everybody for attending today's session. To all the BREW companies, congratulations. Wishing you all the best as you move forward and really start to change the world. For us, it's only at the beginning of the relationship. I think Harrison knows that from our experience, because he was in one of our BREW 1.0 sessions, and we love to keep the ties and the connections going strong. So this is only the beginning of our relationship with you and working with you as well. Dugan, fantastic job to you as well. And Jesse, once again, thank you very much for all the support that you've provided and that of Beckhoff Automation to make this BREW 2.0 2022 session possible. Jesse, anything else that you want to add in?
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity. This has been a really fun and inspiring process, and good to see these companies that are addressing these really difficult issues. So, I'm inspired by listening to these pitches and working through this, and it's been just a really rewarding experience. So,
terrific. Thanks very much, Jesse. And I think, Karen, are you going to come back in? And then also, because the BREW 2.0 is not quite finished, sort of opening it up to more direct conversations. So you want to take it from here, Karen?
Absolutely. Well, I just wanted to add my thanks to everyone who has joined the demo day today. I add my thanks to BREW for moderating and for all of our BREW 2.0 companies for recording those great pitches and sharing with us about their technologies. It's been a great cohort. We're really excited to be in our final week of the program. So when I do see you at WEFTEC, which we're looking forward to later this year, we'll be announcing the next round of BREW. We'll also be announcing Tech Challenge. And of course, I would love to connect anyone on the line today with our BREW companies. So if you would like to have a direct dialogue with any of our BREW cohort members, please email me. I will share my contact information with the recording, as well as Bree mentioned the contact details for our BREW companies themselves. So thank you so much for being part of the event today. I'm going to close the poll. If there's any remaining questions, we can address those. And thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.